Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Destructicon, and today it is my pleasure to bring you my review and analysis of Code Vein. Despite the cute anime character models lowering my guard, I quickly discovered that Code Vein is a very deep, story-driven game, backed up by solid combat and exploration. While it doesn't innovate too much, it makes up for it in its execution. Now, let's dive in. Code Vein is an action RPG Souls-like game developed and published by Namco Bandai. In this game, you don the mantle of a revenant, a vampire in all but name, tasked with investigating a post-apocalyptic wasteland and discovering its secrets, as well as your own origins. While Code Vein's closest equivalent would be the Dark Souls series, at least in terms of gameplay, the game does a fine job of distinguishing itself through its much heavier focus on story, weaving it intimately into the gameplay. It also differs through the addition of permanent companions or co-op, much more elaborate exploration, and different build customization. And on that topic, from launch the game offers you one of the most in-depth character creation systems I've seen outside of an MMO, with a truly insane number of variables for you to tweak. You choose from tons of faces, hairstyles, irises, can adjust height, build, choose different color combinations for your hair, makeup, and eyes. All the base costumes can be adjusted by adding or removing various elements, changing colors, and this extends to the huge number of accessories available as well. As mentioned earlier, the story is an integral part of Code Vein, and it's driven by your character's desire to discover its past identity. You see, humans, when they transform, lose part of their memory, and each subsequent death poses a risk of losing more memories. Your character is unique in that you can pick up these memory fragments, which help you piece together parts of the story in dreamlike sequences. Through these memories, you can also gain the special powers and combat styles of other revenants. Early in the game, you'll also gain your first companion, and as the campaign progresses, you'll discover more. These companions act as guides, helping you uncover more of yourself, and the world will manage your base of operations, and some can even tag along and help you in combat. As you dive deeper into the game, you'll also unlock your companions' backstories, and doing so will become more emotionally invested into them. The various cutscenes, dialogue, and music all come together beautifully to help build a sense of deep kinship. You'll admire their stoicism, laugh at their jokes, appreciate their optimism even in the face of adversity, and cheer when they succeed. Of course, in order to explore all this lore, you'll need to navigate Code Vein's vast and sprawling areas. While the levels initially start very manageable, they become more elaborate and labyrinthine, especially towards the end. The game makes great use of verticality, with levels climbing and descending as much as they sprawl. The environmental variety is great, with you traversing cities, cathedrals, crypts, and even snowy and desert biomes. Code Vein also knows how to make exploration feel meaningful, as every nook, cranny, or hidden ledge could lead to something valuable. Whether it's a convenient shortcut or a spawn point, a loot chest containing something valuable, or a memory fragment. And if you have trouble navigating the world, you do have a mini-map, and as you explore, you leave behind traces on this map, with the more recent ones being bigger, helping you to not get lost by having a way to retrace your steps. Delve enough and you can unlock a special checkpoint which will lift the fog of war and show you the full outline of the map or a certain section of it. And while this feature would feel out of place in some games, it fits naturally into Code Vein due to the vastness of the explorable area. And, often blocking your path, you'll get to cross blades with one or more of Code Vein's many monsters. The enemy variety is good. You'll encounter the standard grunts, which become better armed and smarter in time, as well as the elites and hulks. The game rewards patience in engaging with the enemy. You won't want to run into a room seeing only one enemy in front of you, as two more could be behind the doorframe, ready to backstab you as you dart in. Instead, carefully engaging monsters one at a time, or perhaps finding a way behind or above, can give you the edge. If you do get dragged into combat, prepare for a fast and brutal affair. Even the lowliest of enemies can hit hard, and they usually come in packs. You have a limited stamina bar and must carefully balance it between offense and defense. Miss a dodge and you'll be punished. Your healing is also initially limited. The heavier weapons and attacks are all weighty and impactful, but will leave you vulnerable to being hit, forcing you to time and choose your attacks. Some enemies can even go into a guard stance and parry your incoming attacks, punishing your recklessness with vicious counters. Code Vein does bring one slight twist in the form of focus. The focus bar fills if you get hit enough. More importantly though, it fills completely if you dodge an attack at the exact right time, really rewarding good play. Being focused will unlock certain passive effects such as elemental damage on your weapon. You receive slightly less damage, and a few of your attacks can also launch enemies into the air, damaging them heavily on the way down. Of course, the enemies can also gain focus, which will cause them to enrage and become more erratic. Code Vein also integrates ranged combat and magic, doing it better than similar games. Playing ranged is as simple as equipping a rifle and using your heavy attack button to shoot. Magic abilities can be added to one of 8 slots and toggle via keybinds. Both ranged and magic requires Ichor to use. In simple terms, Ichor is the game's version of mana. It can be gained by meleeing enemies or, more importantly, backstabbing them. Backstabbing grunt enemies not only refills some of your Ichor, but also increases your maximum pool of it by a small amount, really encouraging you to be aggressive in how you finish off the enemies. In this way, the game forces you to balance between melee and ranged, which can often have better results than being pure ranged all the time. However, it wouldn't really be a Souls-like game without epic boss battles. Thankfully, Code Vein doesn't slack in this department. You'll have a large number of different bosses to slay, from hulking monstrosities to knightly or angelic figures. The bosses also have enough different mechanics, speeds and movement sets between them to keep it interesting. And now I need to touch a bit upon the difficulty. While you don't have a menu setting for difficulty, it can be changed by bringing a companion with you while exploring and fighting. In all honesty, bringing a companion along will probably make the game a walk in the park. The companions are very smart, will heal, deal tons of damage, and can even resurrect you. So the choice of difficulty will largely come down to you, the player. If you want a closer Souls-like experience, you'll want to quest and fight without your allies. You also won't miss out on any dialogues, as the game acts as if all your relevant allies are with you in any pre- or post-boss cinematic. You could also choose when or when not to bring along allies, say keeping them for exploration but dismissing them for the boss fights. Despite the good intentions, the combat can boil down to dodging or parrying a boss attack at the right time and then counter-attacking when an opportunity presents itself. In this sense, it doesn't really innovate on the formula like how Sekiro did. This could, however, be skewed slightly by my playstyle. I largely approached Code Vein like a Souls game, and I get the feeling you should branch out and try different builds, perhaps a hybrid between ranged and melee, or a more ability/magic focused character. This also isn't a bad thing, as I feel the overall execution of combat is still extremely high, keeping the deliberate and tactical nature of Souls but adding a faster and more visceral and stylish pace to it. As such, this isn't really a downside, but more of a general observation. Downing the challenges of Code Vein will reward you with haze, codes, and new weapons. Haze is the game's currency. Similar to other games, you lose all your haze if you die, but can recover it by staying alive long enough to go and retrieve it. Codes are the fighting styles which can also be found while exploring, or granted from followers which you have greatly befriended. Codes are the primary ways through which you'll be able to customize your character. They modify your stats like HP or iCore, they can change your scaling for certain stats or weapons, and they come with certain specific passive and active powers. The codes can be swapped in and out at any time without going back to base, even while out exploring or in between boss tries. This gives the system a lot of convenience and flexibility, but this comes at the cost of in-depth stat customization, as leveling up with your haze will not allow you to choose where to allocate your stats, but instead will raise them all. A large part of the game's feel and your character's identity will also be defined by your choice of weapons. You will find a huge variety of them in your travels, with everything from bayonets and halberds to one-handed swords to great swords, axes and hammers. The game does a good job of making them all feel distinct via their looks and their different speeds and movesets. For example, a particular kind of greatsword might have a frontal thrust heavy attack, very good versus single targets, while another greatsword might have a wide sweep attack, great for multiple mobs. You'll also find armors in your travels, but unlike other games they aren't as impressive, consisting of a single piece which more or less acts like a cloak. The armors function more as supporting pieces, changing or improving the scaling of certain weapons and magics, while providing different kinds of physical or magic protection. One nice touch, however, is that the different armors have different backstab animations, and there are enough of them with sufficient stylistic differences to act as a nice augment to your overall look. Your weapons and armors can be improved in one of two ways. Firstly, upgrading them by spending haze and special materials such as Queen's Iron or Steel. This will overall increase their damage or armor values. The second method is by adding certain modifiers to them, such as extra scaling, elemental damage, more armor, or elemental resistances. The graphics lean more towards style than technical prowess, but not too heavily. The characters are reminiscent of Japanese anime, with a focus towards cuteness and simplicity, at least at first glance. However, the overall environments are a lot more impressive, with appropriate textures, particle and lighting effects, putting into focus the harshness of the desert sand or deepening the dark mists of a dungeon. Subtle visual modifiers are also added to the memory sequences to deepen the dreamlike state of them. However, where Code Vein truly shines is in its sound design. The music score is brilliant, truly complementing and enhancing the mood, with the simple piano and violin combination perfectly encapsulating that feeling between sadness, tragedy, and melancholy. And I just cannot give the voice actors enough praise for their fantastic work, each so naturally and subtly altering their vocal inflections to deliver deep and moving performances, tugging at the heartstrings and adding substance and gravitas to each cutscene.
From the moment I took on my role, I knew this would eventually be my fate. But I was still happy. Because I was with you.
Yeah. Me too.
In terms of replayability, the game has multiple incentives for you to come back. You can try different weapons and code builds. You can play the game with or without a companion, or you can choose to go for a different ending, and of course you can try it in New Game Plus. The game has 3 endings which differ based on some of your choices, and additionally you'll need to complete the game at least 2 times to unlock absolutely all the codes. This, on top of the average playtime of around 30 hours, results in quite a lot of bang for your buck at the price of 50 USD or Euro. I greatly enjoyed Code Vein and its play with contrasts. How, despite looking cute and innocent, can bombard you with some brutal combat and mind-bending level exploration. How it drops you into a tragic, broken world, but through the friendship you build along the way, manage to develop a stronger appreciation for life and the humanity the Revenants so dearly cling to. For all this, I give Code Vein a very heartfelt 9 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you stuck with me till the end, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing and commenting. I'll admit I've been having some trouble keeping a consistent schedule lately due to work and time constraints, but I'll do my best to upload a bit more often. At the very least, I'll post some gameplay snippets from what I'm currently playing. You can also find me streaming on twitch.tv/Destructicon and also find some of my work on TL.net. Thank you all for watching and have an awesome day.